Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a 2020 electoral map if Joe Biden outperforms his current numbers by 2%. Now, I know that seems to be small, but taking a look at his lead nationwide, it actually is pretty hard to see how he could improve by 2%. He's up 11 points on the national average, and a 13-point lead would be, well, this is unprecedented, even more so. And if we're looking at these statewide races, actually, it's not too hard to see how Biden could outperform these numbers by 2%. If we look at some of these battleground states, while Biden may be up 11 points nationally, he's only up 4% in Arizona. For whatever reason, his swing state lead isn't directly correlated with his national lead. Now, they do increase, but the swing state increase is very subtle, and generally not only in Arizona, but in a number of other battleground states. Despite Joe Biden's lead improving nationwide, his lead has remained roughly the same in these battleground states, or slightly improved. So while the national average improvement by 2% may seem far-fetched, it isn't exactly too far-fetched in the swing state category. So I use the 538 polling average. You can go ahead and check that out yourself on 538.com. Go to the politics section and then go to the latest polls. And we're going to be starting off with the safe states. That's how we run every single video. There are no surprises here, maybe on the Democratic side. For the Republican side, I think the surprises are the lack of safe Republican states. We've gone through this before. 4 days ago, I made a video based purely on polling data for the electoral map, so this shouldn't be too far off from what we see, but I want to make a point noting that some of these races have changed. I mean, polling has changed in the past 4 days, and from the title of this video, we will end up with an electoral map where Joe Biden has reached 400 electoral votes, actually higher than that, but breaking that threshold, which would be the biggest Democratic victory since Lyndon B. Johnson over half a century ago. So for the safe Democratic states, these aren't too surprising. We're going to go through alphabetical order, starting off in California, Connecticut, Delaware, the District of Columbia, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine. We'll get to the districts in just a moment. Maine's 1st district, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, New Mexico, which isn't too surprising to many people, but the Trump campaign actually spent $500,000 in there recently. We'll talk about that in a separate video. Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. So these are all of the safe states based off of the polling data. Now, there are 2 states, I believe the states of Virginia and the state of Colorado, where this 2-point movement actually puts the lead for Joe Biden at 14.8% and 14.9%, but I don't round up. I'm not rounding it up to above 15%. Even 15% would be the likely threshold. It would just have to be slightly above it, which it isn't. So these are likely states, but very, very close to being safe. Now for the safe Republican states, there aren't actually that many. The state of Alabama is the first state, again, alphabetical order. Alabama, Idaho, Kentucky, which I don't think is too surprising, but again, waste of money in that Senate race for the Democrats. North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, West Virginia, and Wyoming, which means every other state, yes, including Louisiana, and yes, including Nebraska, Donald Trump's lead is not as strong as we think it is. His polling numbers obviously will be outperformed on election day in a lot of these states just because we see very few polls in a number of these states, and one could very well skew the average compared to the rest of the swing states. But all in all, I mean, the fact that Donald Trump isn't leading, even in a slightly skewed poll, by 20-30% in the states that he did win, by 20-30%, I think that's a warning sign in itself. Now, for the likely Democratic states, we're not going to go through that yet. We're going to go through the likely and lean Republican states first, just because if I go through all of the likely Democratic states based off this 2-point shift, Biden wins over 300 electoral votes. So we'll go into the likely Republican states first, then the lean Republican states. By the way, there are no tilt Republican states, but let's go through these really quickly. So Arkansas is a likely Republican state. Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska at large. That's not Vermont. What state is that? Did I write that down correctly? I know I had Nebraska, and then I know I had... Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Oh, it's Utah. I wrote UT, and it looked like a VT. So Utah, that is the final state that would be considered likely on this end. So that puts Donald Trump at roughly 95 electoral votes. And Nebraska at large for some reason doesn't register up on there. But all in all, Donald Trump is at 95 electoral votes. Joe Biden is at 190. For the lean Republican states, I said I would get here next. We actually have the state of Alaska. We have the state of, let's see, actually Nebraska's 3rd district hasn't been polled, so we're just going to characterize that as GOP. I just realized that there was no data from Nebraska's 3rd district. There is data from the 1st district. We'll get to that in a moment. But Alaska goes lean for the GOP, South Carolina, Kansas, and Missouri. So what does that tell you? With these remaining 224 electoral votes, you can already guess who they're going to based off the polling averages. Taking a look at the state of Nebraska, the 1st district actually does not have any data for us. I mean, they do have data, but they have no lead that we can take a look at because Donald Trump and Joe Biden were practically neck and neck in the 1st district. Now, I don't think that's true, but at the same time, the average between them puts Trump only up by 2%, so a 2-point swing based off the data we have, and I'm not going to argue with data just because it's provided to us. I only fill it with the absence, for example, Nebraska's 3rd district, but for almost all of the other states, they have been polled. Actually, every single state in the country has been polled, and Nebraska's 1st district goes to a tie, meaning both candidates are in dead heat, and I'm not going to characterize it for the remainder of the video. So someone at the end is probably going to say, you forgot to characterize Nebraska's 1st district. I did not. It is just a tie based off the only poll that we have. While that poll is likely very unreliable, again, I'm basing it purely off that. I'm not going to pick and choose which ones I trust versus don't trust. So let's go ahead and get started with the likely Democratic states. And when I tell you that this list is very long, it is very long. There are 5 states across the lean and tilt, and you can see how many states are up. Gives you a very good idea of how many states are considered to be likely for the Biden campaign. So we'll start off alphabetically. Arizona moves into the likely Democratic column. Colorado only barely misses the safe Democratic column. Florida becomes likely. That actually is a testament to where Joe Biden stands in the lean characterization. I mean, a 2-point shift should not be putting Florida likely in a regular election year. Again, this is not a regular election year. Michigan remains in the likely column. Minnesota does as well. Nebraska's 2nd district actually has had Joe Biden up by 7.6% on average. It's as Democrat as Michigan or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Minnesota at this point, which I think is fascinating. Nevada is likely for the Democrats, New Hampshire as well. Both of these states remain the same. North Carolina, surprisingly enough, moves over into the likely Democratic column. That's very shocking to me. I was surprised to see that. But again, the average did favor Joe Biden heavily. Pennsylvania and Virginia and Wisconsin are the states that go into the likely Democratic column. So that leaves lean Democratic states and tilt Democratic states. I'm pretty sure we can all guess which states are lean versus which states are tilt. And this is where Joe Biden gets to 400 electoral votes. Because as of right now, he's leading in 334. But like I told you, Donald Trump does not lead in a remaining electoral vote. Whether it's a district or whether it's a state, it doesn't matter. He's not leading in any of them. For the lean Democratic states, we start off in Iowa, and we start off in Ohio. These 2 states, which generally vote together, actually have Joe Biden up right now, and this shift only moves it further into the Democratic column. Ohio is tilt at this point based off polls. Iowa is lean. Iowa remains the same. Ohio moves into the lean Democratic column. That puts Biden at 358. So where is he going to get the remaining electoral votes? Where there are 2 states that we have yet to characterize. Georgia, and Texas, and also Maine's 2nd district. I'm going to get Maine's 2nd district really quickly out of the way. That is a lean Democratic district. But for Georgia, this is a state that the Democratic Party has had trouble winning time and time again. Even under Obama's first election, he lost the state, I believe, by 5%, 6%. Yeah, 5%, 5.2%. 0.1% higher than Donald Trump's victory back in 2016. He then went on to lose the state by 8% in 2012, and then 2016 rolls around. And we see it return to a 2008 level margin because of a shift of white suburban voters. Well, those same voters elected Democrats in 2018. Take a look at the House districts in the Atlanta suburbs. Take a look at the most expensive House race in United States history and how it went to a Republican in 2017, yet flipped in 2018. That's Georgia's 6th congressional district. Fun fact, Newt Gingrich held that seat. So when we look at Georgia, it's not too far-fetched to see it as a Democratic state at this point. In fact, Joe Biden leads in Georgia as the numbers stand today. The only swing state where Biden is not leading as the numbers stand today is Texas. So if the polls are accurate and they have adjusted for their 2016 inconsistencies and whatever they did wrong, at the end of the day, Joe Biden has a lot of cushion, a lot of leeway with the possibility of some of these polls being incorrect. Because even if you take all of the lean Democratic states and you peel them away from Joe Biden, he still remains at 334. Now, for the tilt Democratic state, I don't think this one is too shocking considering it's the last state we have yet to characterize, but it's Texas. And that's the reason why I chose 2% for this video, because it shows you that a marginal increase for Joe Biden in this traditionally solid Republican state puts him ahead. Because of the fact that Donald Trump is doing so horribly in Texas, Joe Biden is within a 2% chance, not 2% chance, a 2% increase in support at winning Texas. 38 electoral votes, at a point in time was referred to as the Republican Party's California, and look at it now. California is going to Biden by 30%. Texas goes to Biden in this map by 0.4%. That's a very significant swing from 2016. The fact even when we don't apply these numbers to the map that Trump only leads by 1.6% is almost pathetic, because this is a state that the Republican Party so direly needs. It's not just Trump that needs this state. They need those 2 Republican senators. They need that Republican legislature. They need the House of Representatives members. They need the governorship. They need it on the presidential level. Not here, but when it's 41 electoral votes in 2024. When it's 41 electoral votes in 2028. When it's 45 in 2032. So when we look at the state of Texas, the changing demographics will never benefit the Republican Party unless they change something fundamentally about their platform. There's a reason Governor Abbott is making it a point that there is 1 ballot box drop-off per county. It's not partisan for me to say that is blatantly voter suppression. There is no reason that a county with 100 times less people than another one should have the same amount of ballot drop-off locations. Absolutely no sense made whatsoever. I mean, that just does not make any type of sense. And you know, the Republican Party, they're the ones who elected Greg Abbott. I'm sure that there were Democratic voters, independent voters as well. But this is something that, as Americans, we generally should come together and oppose situations such as those. Such as the California GOP openly admitting to putting out fake ballot drop-off locations, bragging on Fox News about ballot harvesting just because it may be legal in a state compared to the 49 others that say absolutely not. So when you see things like that happen, and I'm not specifically targeting the GOP in this case, I'm just saying in both Texas and California, both of these situations originated from the Republican Party. I don't think that that's fair. And I understand why in Texas, just because Texas has shifted not so far to the left, but definitely shifted leftward over the past 4 years. I can see that Governor Abbott is definitely afraid of Texas going blue. But for California, it's not so much on the presidential level that they're afraid, because they already know that they're going to lose the state of California. They are afraid of losing House races that they lost in 2018. And all in all, I really just don't see a good defense for either ballot harvesting or having 1 ballot box per county. I mean, if you think that is a correct course of action, please comment down below why you personally believe so, and I will read through the comment section to see if I can find any feasible defense as to why that should happen, because that realistically just shouldn't. But that is specific to Texas. But I just want to point out that a 2-point shift in favor of Joe Biden flips Texas. It moves Kansas down to being lean. I mean, looking across this country, Joe Biden has made inroads in states we never thought were even really imaginable for the Democratic Party, much less winning Texas. So all in all, major takeaway is that Biden's not so significant bump of 2% could put him at 413 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 125, assuming Nebraska's first votes his way. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election predictions. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.